For centuries, European conflicts were the exclusive domain of sovereigns and professional soldiers. A 25-year-old in 1815 had never known a time without war, yet the actual battlefield remained a distant arena reserved for the aristocratic elite. If a battle raged hundreds of miles away, the civilians funding it back home had no immediate way of knowing who won. News traveled only as fast as a horse could gallop or a ship could sail, meaning the outcome of a major conflict might not reach the public for weeks. That physical isolation collapsed with the Industrial Revolution. By the 1830s, railways began crisscrossing the continent, while steam-powered printing presses pushed production rates from a few hundred pages an hour to nearly 10,000. Information suddenly moved faster than the armies themselves. This acceleration destroyed the buffer of time and space that had previously shielded the military elite from public scrutiny. This chart shows newspaper circulation before the 19th century, staying low for the educated elite. As literacy improved and costs fell, circulation spiked. Simultaneously, political reforms expanded voting rights, tracking perfectly with mass media. Politicians now had to persuade voters, not buy them. This created a fragile dynamic for the ruling class. They now depended on public support to maintain power, but they no longer controlled the information that the public was consuming. That tension finally snapped during the Crimean War in 1854. The Times of London sent a 34-year-old civilian named William Howard Russell to cover the conflict, making him the first modern war correspondent. Instead of relying on slow official couriers, Russell utilized the newly laid electric telegraph networks. He transmitted detailed dispatches from the front lines all the way back to London at near real-time speed. Russell bypassed the heroic cavalry charges to describe soldiers freezing without tents in drenching rain, dying of cholera, and suffering under the gross incompetence of their commanders. The British public read these unvarnished reports and erupted in outrage. This pressure eventually toppled the government, demonstrating to the political and military establishment that a civilian with a pen could now dictate the survival of an administration. The military establishment panicked. They realized that if they couldn't physically stop the presses in London, they had to start manufacturing their own competing narrative on the battlefield. To counter Russell's grim text, the state dispatched photographer Roger Fenton to the Crimea. He produced images like this one, a clean, orderly landscape, carefully composed with scattered cannonballs, deliberately omitting the half-dug graves and rotting corpses. When staged photos weren't enough, the army formalized its control. They drafted the first official military censorship orders, explicitly banning the publication of any details that might alert the enemy or damage civilian morale. The Crimean conflict codified a new rule of statecraft. Once a government loses the ability to hide a war from its citizens, it has to actively sculpt the version of the war those citizens see. By the time the American Civil War broke out in 1861, armies began treating reporters as instruments for national morale. Over 500 correspondents joined the northern side, finding that their dispatches were now essential to the war effort back home. Commanders rewarded compliant journalists by granting them exclusive access to frontline infrastructure. A friendly reporter might be allowed to pitch his tent right next to the military telegraph wagon, ensuring his dispatches hit the presses first. Journalists who wrote critically faced aggressive suppression. General Sherman actively denied access to reporters he disliked, and the Union government suspended roughly 20 dissenting newspapers. The manipulation extended to official sources. The Secretary of War issued daily bulletins that routinely minimized Union casualty numbers, while both sides ran coordinated propaganda campaigns in British newspapers to sway foreign allies. By the end of the American Civil War, the press functioned as a primary weapon within the conflict. Information had become as vital as ammunition, with every headline serving to either fortify or fracture the nation's will to fight. 3 decades later, in 1896, 3 separate technological breakthroughs collided in a single year, finalizing this communications revolution. First, publishers in Britain and the US launched ultra-cheap, mass-circulation daily newspapers. They were specifically written and priced for millions of newly literate working-class citizens, expanding the reading public to its largest size in history. Second, the Lumiere brothers hosted the first commercial screening of the cinematograph in Paris. For the first time, audiences could sit in a theater and watch the moving reality of the outside world projected onto a wall. Finally, Guglielmo Marconi successfully demonstrated the wireless telegraph on Salisbury Plain. By transmitting signals without cables, he laid the technical foundation for instantaneous global broadcasts. The simultaneous arrival of mass print, moving pictures, and wireless radio built an inescapable media environment. It permanently linked the minds of millions of citizens to the decisions of their leaders. This ecosystem arrived exactly in time for the 20th century and the birth of total war, a reality where a country had to mobilize its entire industrial, economic, and human capacity for survival. As global conflicts erupted, the constant flow of newsreels, radio bulletins, and daily headlines brought the sensory experience of the trenches directly into the civilian living room. The physical distance between the soldier and the factory worker remained, but their shared psychological reality had merged. The people themselves became the new front line. The mental endurance of a woman rationing food or a man working double shifts in a munitions factory became just as critical to avoiding defeat as the physical courage of an infantryman. In the era of total war, victory required more than military force. It demanded the construction of massive, invisible machineries of propaganda designed to win the psychological war at home before the first shot was even fired on the front.